knew Andrew Breitbart.
Yeah, very
What
well.
what was he like? I mean, he was such a like conservative media pioneer, and then he died young and suddenly. Like
Right.
he's got, I feel like he has disciples everywhere. I think Shapiro's one of his disciples.
Yes.
Bannon's one of them, and
Well,
then
that's
there's just
how I
all his.
met all of these guys. I mean,
Okay.
that's how I met a lot of these folks who, and it's like when if Andrew introduced you to someone, then like that relationship is, I mean, more than likely that relationship is going to last. That's what it's one of
Really?
those things, you've been in a war with the person, and
Uh-huh.
even if you don't talk to them every day, there is a camaraderie. There's something special there because Andrew was, I think he was like, I think of Andrew like Norman Granz, who was the old, the old jazz impresario,
Okay.
who had a number of record labels, Verve being the most famous one. But he used to do this thing called Jazz at the Philharmonic, where he would go and he would say, "Okay, I'm going to put together my dream bands,
Hmm.
and I'm going to take so and so in here and so and so, this trombonist and that piano player and I'm just going to play, and I'm going to play in putting together these combinations." And obviously, the guys loved it because they all used to love to play with one another anyway.
Sure.
And it was like, okay, this, for this show, I'm playing with so and so, and and or making a record with so and so. And so what you end up having as far as Verve goes is you've got this amazing, over the course of, hundreds, thousands of records, you've got so many different little groupings of people who were, his friends, his, the folks on his label. And Andrew was the same way. Andrew was the kind of guy who loved to put people into different, who used to love to put people together
Okay.
and in different combinations. So my phone would ring at 1 a.m. and it's Andrew in LA, and there's a bar. He's obviously in a bar because there's a lot of noise, or in a restaurant, and he says, "Hey, you need to talk to so and so and so. I'm gonna put them on. He's great, she's great. You guys work in the same space. This is gonna be like a great collaboration." So then he throws the phone over to somebody else,
That's hilarious.
and he did that. He did that all the time.
Wow.
And I wish I had on my phone. I don't know what happened to my phone at that time, but I used to save all of his voicemails
Oh yeah.
because I knew not, because they were so funny. It wasn't like, I was memorializing them in some way, but they were really, really funny and great.
Yeah, he strikes me as such a character. I read his book
Yeah.
recently, just kind of going back and exploring it all. And he's a good storyteller, but he does strike me as someone who's just clearly unique, but also genuine, right? He felt very genuine to me from reading the book, and I don't know the details of it at all. But once I saw that you had spoken to him, I was like, well, wow. Now I want to meet someone who knows the famed Breitbart, because you hear about him and you hear like his mantra, right? Politics is downstream of culture. You hear that everywhere now, and I think that was his baby, if I recall, if I have that right.
Yeah, I mean, he had made that observation. I guess he made the formulation based on, um, based on many folks. I mean, Gramsci being,
Sure.
one of the the key guys on the other end of the spectrum, who realized that too.
Right.
But yeah, Andrew was wild. I mean, he was also really a lot of fun
Hmm.
in the sense that you never knew exactly what was going to happen, on one hand. But on the other hand, you could bring him home to your parents, so to speak. You could put
Yeah.
him in a serious context, and he would know when to be serious and when to, and but I mean, he was great. The first time I met him at my office, and he came in for a meeting, and he was right about to go meet uh, uh, um, Camille Paglia,
Oh, she's a gem.
and
Yeah.
yeah, who was his hero. And I
Yeah.
said, so where are you guys going? And he's like, I'm going to take the train up to Philly, and she wants to meet at this dive bar where she hangs out, and she just
Of
wants to
course she
shoot
does.
pool.
Yeah. Wow.
So imagine that,
Man.
that would have been a great scene, and of course, I talked to him afterwards, and he was just over the moon.
Oh, I bet. That
Yeah,
imagine being in that pool hall and just looking over and seeing
two weirdos
Javier. Yeah,
shooting pool. Yeah,
who are these
right.
people? And they're talking about something just it's either I have to imagine either something crazily deep or the most mundane thing ever, but exploring it in a way that I don't know, is
That
just
would just be
entertaining.
fun. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
and I think the two of them, had a lot in common in the sense that they are both or were both fun, which is a thing that at that time too, sort of living in conservative world was not common.
Oh really?
Um, yeah, I mean, there were very few fun people. There were very few, there were very few Gen X people,
Sure. What years are you
if
talking
that
about? Is
makes
this
sense.
like
I'm
late
talking
Bush?
about I'm talking about 2008,
Oh,
2009,
okay.
2010.
Sure.
The folks who still ran conservative world were boomers.
Right.
And occasionally you had people popping up. I mean, Ben Shapiro was novel because he was a child.
Right.
He
Yeah.
was very, very young, and he was a guy who I met through Andrew. He became
Okay.
friendly with Andrew because he was a prodigy. He was, he was,
Sure.
I think writing his first book, and he helped Andrew with Andrew's book. But yeah, I mean, he was a kid, and there was, some other folks too. Dana Lash was also young.
Right.
She was involved. Larry O'Connor was a little bit older, but I mean, these are all people who were Joel Pollack. I mean, there are a lot of Brandon Darby. I mean, there are so many folks from the
Oh
old
yeah.
days who were kind of in this Lee Stranahan, who were in this, the old Breitbart universe, kind of pre-Bannon.
Right. It seems like I don't know. To me, it feels like that was the epicenter, and then it just exploded out all over conservatism these days, and you just see, like I said, Breitbart disciples everywhere, and it's kind of crowded out those older boomer conservatives, neocons, whatever you want to call them. Obviously, there's kind of different names to it, but
Yeah,
I
yeah,
it's such a shame that he died young because you could tell he was a force. I mean, his legacy is already felt all over conservative
sure.
politics.
Yeah, and just to dispel, I mean, I just want to dispel because every time, I'll tweet about Breitbart, maybe on his birthday or something, and something will come to mind. I'll get responses saying, was he killed? Was he, people
Sure.
who are alleging foul play. And I have to say, like, guys, he was not killed. He died of a heart attack. He had a bad heart.
Yeah.
Andrew was adopted. He did not know his family's medical history.
Yeah.
Um, he had suffered a heart attack prior, within about a year prior to his passing, that he kept under wraps. And he was trying to turn his health around, but frankly, he was not able to do it. I saw him a few weeks before he died, and he grabbed me from behind and gave me a hug, and I thought it was a homeless guy. His
Yeah.
last speech, this was at CPAC. His last speech, he looked like a wild man. He did not look healthy.
Right. And
And
he lived kind of hard though too, didn't he? I know
yeah,
he talks about his college life being a fun time to put it that way. But it seems like he wasn't kind to his body for a lot of his life.
yeah. I don't think. I mean, to be honest with you, I think in some ways you could say that Twitter killed him,
Mm,
because he was an addict. He was a
right.
total addict. He was an addict with a timeline. He was
Hmm.
an addict of. He ended up becoming addicted to to like the outrage loop. So if
Yeah.
you said, Andrew Breitbart, you were, a this and a that and a this and that to him on Twitter, he would retweet that because in his mind he was saying, I'm going to show a mirror. I'm going to project a mirror onto the left and say, this is how horrible you guys are. And I want everyone to see what kind of shit that comes out of your mouths. And that's fine for a second.
Right.
But when it goes over the course of years, and then of course it becomes an incentive, it gives them an incentive to be as mean as possible,
Oh, right. Yeah.
knowing that he'll retweet them.
Yeah.
So he's living his life completely plugged in. He's, kind of in the matrix, and he's living in an outrage loop of Twitter. And it's just not healthy. It's not
No.
healthy at all. And if he was here for a moment, I would say, dude, get the hell off Twitter.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
at least put it down, or figure out a way to use it that's not so toxic on, toxic and taxing on your psyche.
Yeah. I mean, that's just, yeah, those are the early days of social media. So we didn't even know at that
Right.
point, really. I mean, everyone now knows that social media is terrible and not, I don't even know. At some point, it's not even fun anymore. Like, when was the last time anyone went on Facebook? But
Oh, years.
yeah, same. It's like I go there because I'm in advertising, and that's it. But yeah, it's, he got caught up in it. But that's kind of, seems like that was his world, right? He was right on that cutting edge.
Mhm.
He liked to live there, and yeah, I can
This is
understand
a
why.
good point. This is a great point that you make, which is that we didn't know. I mean, it's like good, but bringing it back to smoking. It's like
Right,
smoking in the old days. We knew it was. I mean, we knew it made people cough
right.
and all that stuff, and like, okay, my lungs hurt, but we didn't truly understand the kind of the intensity of harm.
Right.
And now I think we kind of better understand it. If you work a job where you are online, your part of your responsibility is to be online.
Hmm.
It's like you're working in a mine. You really need to limit the exposure that you
Yeah,
have.
I think that's what a lot of people do is at least people who do it for work and aren't just kind of hooked up to it, they
Right.
put it down. They make sure that they have their quality time without the phone because you can just feel it kind of sucking your life away in a sense,
Mhm.
right? Especially if
For
you're
sure.
aware to it. Although I do think a lot of people are not aware of the fact that they're just kind of giving their life over to these companies and to all these people that don't care about their time.
Right.
Yeah.
And all their data.